Well, we better buckle up because we have some interesting things to talk about this morning.
Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Basement, live on the log flume with Lily. Lily, say hi.
When the chief mechanic of our economy, Jerome Powell, tells us to expect pain for households, pain for businesses, we better pay attention. And when you look at that statement through the lens of what we know is going on right now in our economy, things get downright scary. Recession, possibly depression. What does all that mean for the price of the precious metals? We're going to dig into all of that and more in this video. It may not be fun, but it's important that we listen to what Jerome Powell says. And did you hear what he said at Jackson Hole? It is downright frightening. Remember, to put this in context, the Federal Reserve always paints the rosiest of pictures when it comes to the economy. Remember, transitory inflation. Inflation was just going to be around for a little while. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Well, they were wrong about that. So we have to realize the Fed is often wrong and they always paint the rosiest of pictures. So when they're talking about pain for U.S. households, for U.S. businesses, it could in reality be much worse. Let's listen to what he said. I'll read you line for line what Jerome Powell said just last Friday. The highlight of the speech was this: while higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. Powell also added, these are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation, but a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain. Okay, Jerome, I don't know. You know, it's easy for you to talk about pain as you're sitting with your $100 million in wealth, but why don't you talk to people in Tallahassee or Spokane or Winnipeg or anywhere else about pain? So while Americans are suffering, yes, that's right, suffering. There was a recent study that said the number of Americans suffering right now as you're watching this video is higher than any other time in the last 50, 60 years, while small businesses, 40% of small businesses are having a very difficult time paying their rent, are behind on their rent, while 70% of American families are worried about being able to pay their bills because of inflation, while 1 in 6 American households are behind on their utility payments. You're telling us, Jerome Powell, that there's more pain to come? And you're going to tell me that's not a recession or a depression? I call BS. I just want to calm down for 1 second and say thank you. Yes, you, the one and only you, for joining me right now watching this video here in the basement. I appreciate your time. It's valuable, and I honor the fact that you joined me. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel, give the video a thumbs up, turn on the bell notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below. That's where we all get to know each other and learn from each other. And you can share this video with anyone you like. Now, back to the subject at hand. I don't know how it is where you live, but around here in St. Louis, why are all the car lots empty? They look like a ghost town. Yesterday, I was driving out on Manchester Road here in West St. Louis County. I drove by a Toyota dealership. I drove by a Honda dealership. I drove by a Jeep Chrysler deal. I drove by a lot of car dealerships, and almost all of them, their lots looked like a ghost town. I'm like, what is going on? You know, can people really afford all these new cars? Number one, which they can't, right? The consumer is totally stretched. Consumer credit's at an all-time high. Why are there no cars? It's a little creepy. I'd be curious to hear from you. Number one, have you noticed that where you live? And number two, why do you think that's the case? I know there's supply chain issues, but it seems a little weird to me that these car dealership lots look like deserts. But we want to talk about gold and silver, and platinum for that matter, right? This applies to all the metals. While we know things are so rosy in our economy, and our Federal Reserve Chairman is telling us to expect worse, what's going to happen if we go into a severe recession, a depression? What's going to happen to the metals? Well, two things can happen. As we see asset prices all over the world begin to recede, stock prices go down, real estate prices go down, the bond market goes down, Bitcoin goes down. Everything looks unattractive from an investment perspective. But as inflation remains persistent, in that environment where everything else looks cruddy, there's something, I see it over there in the corner, sitting there, that does very well in an inflationary environment. It's done so for thousands of years. That would be the precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and the other precious metals become much more attractive because they're one of the only games in town that look good when the economy's collapsing, but we still have inflation. And we'll still have inflation because a lot of this inflation we're experiencing is a monetary phenomena, but also a supply side phenomena. There's less oil available. There's less cars, right, at the car dealership. So it's not just a pure monetary thing that can be fixed with monetary policy. And when everything else looks crappy and inflation's still in place, gold and silver will shine. Now, the second thing that can happen is as things fall apart, eventually the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell, who probably won't be there anymore because Lyle Brainerd will have replaced him, as I predicted months ago, Lyle Brainerd will institute much more easier monetary policy. That'll be a major shift in policy back towards dovishness, and that will also serve as a huge, huge tailwind to the price of gold and silver. Guys, things are looking dicey out there. I don't know how long these central banks, including our very own Jerome Powell, are going to be able to, stand by this uber tough hawkish stance. It's going to get very interesting. And if they do, they're going to drive us straight into a depression. Larry Leopard had a very interesting comment this morning on Twitter. He said, watching Jerome Powell right now with what he's doing with our economy is like watching a child in a pool of gasoline with a book of matches. Hey, I appreciate you joining me here in Ron's Basement today. I hope you decide to come back. If you want to suffer through another video, you can do that right here. And you can always subscribe so you can come back right here. Until next time, you be well.